stop what you're doing for just a moment and pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, because this might explain everything you have been feeling lately, but could not understand. That strange sense of being caught between two worlds. That feeling of standing at a threshold but not knowing what lies beyond. That quiet voice inside telling you something is about to change, even though nothing visible has shifted yet. All of it makes sense now, and by the end of this you will understand exactly why this moment matters more than you realize. Something is moving through the invisible architecture of your life right now. It began quietly, so quietly that most people missed it entirely, but you felt it. Maybe you could not name it or explain it to anyone, but somewhere deep in your awareness you knew that the ground beneath you was shifting, that the rules you had been living by were somehow becoming less solid, that the version of yourself you had been carrying was starting to feel like clothes that no longer fit. What if I told you that this feeling is not random, that it is not anxiety or confusion or something wrong with you, that it is actually the most significant cosmic reset happening right now, and you are directly in the middle of it whether you knew it or not. The sun has just crossed into Aries, and this is not just another astrological transit that you scroll past on your phone. This is the moment when the entire zodiac wheel returns to zero, the absolute beginning. The place where everything that came before dissolves and something entirely new becomes possible. Aries is the first sign, the first spark, the initial breath of a completely new cycle. It is raw creation before it takes shape. It is potential before it becomes form. And the sun moving through this point represents your core self, your identity, your sense of who you are stepping into this brand new beginning. But here is what makes this moment so unusual, and why everything feels so strange right now. The sun is not making this journey alone. At the exact same degree, at the very first point of this new cycle, the sun is merging with Neptune. And this changes everything about what this beginning means and how you are experiencing it. Neptune is unlike any other planetary energy. It does not operate in the world of facts and solid ground and clear answers. Neptune is mist and mystery and everything that dissolves when you try to hold it too tightly. It is dreams and intuition and the vast ocean of consciousness that exists beneath your rational mind. It is the part of reality that cannot be measured or proven, but that you know is real because you feel it in your bones. When the sun merges with Neptune at the very beginning of the zodiac, something extraordinary happens. Your sense of self, which normally feels relatively stable and defined, begins to soften at the edges. The boundaries of who you think you are become more permeable. Old identities start to feel less convincing. Labels you have carried for years suddenly seem optional rather than fixed. This is not losing yourself. This is discovering that you are so much more than the limited version you have been presenting to the world. This is why you've been feeling that strange detachment. That sense of watching your life from a slight distance as if you're not fully in it. That quality of being between identities, no longer quite the person you were, but not yet knowing who you are becoming. This is the Sun-Neptune conjunction doing exactly what it does. It dissolves the rigid structures of identity so that something more authentic can emerge in their place. You may have noticed that thoughts and beliefs you held for a long time feel less solid than they used to. Things that once seemed absolutely certain now carry a question mark. Ideas about who you are and what you're capable of are shifting in ways you cannot quite control. This is not a breakdown. This is a breakthrough trying to happen. The old mental structures are softening because they need to make room for something larger, something truer, something you have not yet allowed yourself to become. At the same time, there is this heightened sensitivity running through everything. You feel more, you sense more. The emotional undercurrents that you might normally miss are now impossible to ignore. Other people's energy affects you more strongly. Environments carry a charge you can actually perceive. This is Neptune opening channels of awareness that usually remain closed. You're not imagining this increased sensitivity. It is real, and it is showing you something important about the nature of reality and your connection to everything around you. And then there are these moments of sudden clarity that seem to come from nowhere. Insights that arrive fully formed without any logical process leading to them. Understandings that shift your entire perspective in an instant. These are not random thoughts. These are communications from a deeper level of your awareness, made possible because Neptune has thinned the veil between your conscious mind and the vast intelligence that exists beneath it. Pay attention to these moments. They are carrying guidance about where you are heading even if you cannot see the full path yet. You may also feel pulled towards solitude right now. not because something is wrong or because you are avoiding life, but because something inside you needs quiet to properly reconfigure. When the noise settles down, when the constant input pauses even briefly, it becomes so much easier to hear what is actually true for you. This pull toward aloneness is part of the process. It is creating space for the new version of you to begin taking shape. What makes this even more powerful is where in the sky this is happening. The first degree of Aries is considered one of the most sensitive points in the entire zodiac. It is an energetic doorway between cycles. When major alignments occur here, they do not just touch individual lives in small personal ways. They ripple outward through the collective consciousness, affecting everyone at once. This is one of those moments. Whatever is shifting in you right now is part of a much larger shift happening in human awareness itself. So this is not just about starting something new in the ordinary sense. This is about starting from a completely different place inside yourself, a place that has been cleared of old limitations, a place where you're no longer defined by past failures or fears or other people's expectations, a place of genuine possibility because the structures that were blocking that possibility have softened and dissolved. There is an invitation in this moment, and it is asking something specific of you. It is not asking you to have all the answers or to immediately charge forward with a new plan. In fact, trying to force clarity right now would completely miss the point. What this energy is asking is for you to trust what you feel, even when you cannot explain it, to allow the uncertainty without trying to resolve it prematurely, to be comfortable not knowing while remaining connected to your inner sense of direction. This is harder than it sounds. Everything in modern life pushes you toward certainty, toward plans, toward defined goals and clear metrics. But Neptune does not work that way. Neptune works through surrender, through allowing, through trusting that the path will become visible when you're ready to see it. Right now you are in the mist, and the mist is not your enemy. The mist is creating the conditions for something new to emerge precisely because it is preventing you from seeing and therefore trying to control every detail. As this alignment continues to deepen, something shifts beneath the surface. The initial strange feelings start to develop more texture, more specificity. You're no longer just feeling unclear. You're beginning to sense that something specific is trying to emerge through that lack of clarity. Old fears that you thought you had dealt with might surface again, but they feel different now. They appear in your awareness, but they lack their former intensity. It is like seeing a ghost you once found terrifying and realizing it has no power over you anymore. The fear exists, but your relationship to it has fundamentally changed. Limiting beliefs reveal themselves as optional rather than true. Thoughts like, "I could never do that," or "I am not the kind of person who," start to feel less convincing. They might still arise, but they no longer dominate your inner landscape. They become background noise rather than defining narratives. This is Neptune dissolving the internal structures that have been keeping you small, not through force or effort, but simply by loosening their grip until they fall away naturally. Your intuitive capacities are expanding during this time. You may find that you simply know things without knowing how you know them. Insights about situations and people arrive fully formed, bypassing the usual analytical process entirely. You might suddenly understand something about your path that has confused you for months or years. The understanding does not come from thinking harder. It simply appears complete and clear, like a gift delivered directly to your consciousness. The challenge is learning to trust this knowing, especially if you have been trained to only value rational, provable information. But your intuition is not less reliable than your rational mind. In many situations, especially those involving your own life path or complex human dynamics, your intuition is far more accurate than logic alone could ever be. During this time, practice listening to those subtle inner promptings. When you feel drawn to something without rational justification, pay attention. When you feel resistance to something that looks good on paper but feels wrong internally, honor that feeling. Your intuition is speaking more clearly right now than it usually does. Something else is happening at the same time. Mars is forming a supportive connection to Neptune, and this creates a remarkable flow between action and intuition. Mars represents your drive, your ability to move forward and take action in the world. When Mars and Neptune work together harmoniously, you get what might be called the spiritual warrior, someone who acts with both courage and awareness, someone who moves forward with both determination and sensitivity to timing and flow. Instead of forcing decisions or pushing forward out of pressure, there is an opportunity now to move in a way that feels guided. Actions taken during this time may feel more natural, almost effortless, as if you were being led rather than having to control every step. This is not about doing nothing. It is about allowing your actions to come from alignment rather than from pressure or fear. Pay attention to how this feels. There is a quality to aligned action that is completely different from forced action. Aligned action feels like following something. Forced action feels like pushing against something. You're learning to distinguish between these two modes, and this skill will serve you long after this particular alignment passes. You may start to feel a stronger urge to express yourself in a way that feels real without needing validation or approval. This does not come from rebellion or defiance. It comes from a deeper sense of alignment. When your inner world begins to clear, it becomes easier to recognize what truly belongs to you and what was adopted from outside. This creates a quiet confidence that is not loud or aggressive but steady and unshakable. As these days unfold, there is a window opening where thoughts and intentions and inner visions can begin to take shape more easily. This is what some call a manifestation period, but not in the superficial sense of just wishing for things and having them appear. Real manifestation happens when there is alignment between what you feel, what you believe, and what you are ready to move toward. The reason this period is powerful for manifestation is because your internal conflicts are lessening. The gap between what you consciously want and what you subconsciously believe you can have is narrowing. When that inner alignment increases even slightly, your thoughts and intentions carry more creative power because they are no longer sabotaged by contradictory beliefs operating beneath your awareness. You may notice that certain desires feel clearer now, not surface-level wants, but deeper callings that feel genuinely yours rather than borrowed from external expectations. At the same time, some things you thought you wanted might fade or shift. Desires you believed were important may lose their charge. This is clarity, not loss. You're recognizing what was genuinely yours versus what you thought you should want. Ideas that once felt scattered begin to connect and form a clearer direction. This is supported by Mercury having recently shifted out of its retrograde phase. Mental clarity is gradually returning. Decisions that seemed impossibly confusing may now feel more straightforward, not because everything is perfectly clear, but because you are seeing from a different perspective. There is a quiet sense that something is beginning to align even though it is still early. The energy is not rushing you forward, but it is gently encouraging you to pay attention, to notice what is coming up and what feels different, and what is trying to move through you. This is the space where intention becomes important. Not forced intention, but natural intention arising from your authentic self. As this window continues, the energy begins preparing you for what comes next. Because what is being felt and imagined now will soon be asked to take form. The Sun is moving toward a connection with Saturn, and this will shift the quality of the energy significantly. Saturn brings structure, reality, and the ability to turn vision into something tangible. After the fluid, dreamlike quality of Neptune, this will feel more grounded, more serious, more practical. You may already feel this approaching as a subtle pull toward clarity. Not harsh clarity that crushes possibility, but honest clarity that asks real questions. What do you actually want to build from what you are feeling? What is worth your time and energy and focus? What are you genuinely willing to commit to and work toward? These questions do not need immediate answers, but they are becoming more present in your awareness. This transition from dreaming into building can feel both grounding and intense. After all that openness and flow, Saturn's presence can feel more defined, more demanding. But this is not restriction. This is stabilization. It is what allows something meaningful to actually last beyond just a moment of inspiration. Without this grounding, visions remain visions. With it, they become real. As this influence grows, you may feel a shift in your motivation. Ideas that once felt abstract begin to ask for form. There is a natural desire to organize, to plan, to take small but concrete steps towards something that matters. Even if you're not ready for big action, there is a sense of getting closer to that point. The theme of boundaries becomes more important now. During the Neptune phase, boundaries naturally softened, which was valuable for accessing intuition and releasing rigid self-definitions. But now, as you prepare to build something real, boundaries need to be re-established. Not as walls that separate you from life, but as conscious containers that protect your energy and focus. You cannot create anything meaningful if your attention is constantly scattered. You cannot maintain clarity if you are absorbing everyone else's emotional states without discernment. You cannot move toward your authentic goals if you are constantly diverting energy toward other people's expectations. This is not about becoming selfish. It is about recognizing that your resources are finite and how you allocate them determines what becomes possible. A deeper realization is forming about purpose, not in dramatic life-altering terms, but in quiet recognition of what feels meaningful to you, what feels worth pursuing even if it takes time, what feels real beyond external validation. This is where the beginning of a longer shift becomes visible. As this chapter unfolds, you may sense that you're no longer in the same place you were before this started. Even if nothing external has changed, yet something internal has shifted. The way you see yourself, your path, your potential is no longer exactly the same. This is how transformation happens, not all at once, but in layers. First through awareness, then understanding, then gradually through action. What began as a quiet, almost invisible shift is moving towards something tangible. The mist is slowly lifting. Not completely, but enough to see further than before. The next steps, which were unclear, are becoming visible. Not the whole journey, not the final destination, but enough to move forward with more confidence. And as you stand at this threshold, you have a choice. Will you step into this new cycle with the awareness you've gained? Will you honor the internal shifts that have occurred? Will you allow yourself to be different, to want different things, to move in new directions? Or will you retreat into familiar patterns because they feel safer even though they no longer fit? The Sun and Neptune opened the door by dissolving what needed to be released. Mars helped you find flow between feeling and action. Mercury cleared the mental fog. Saturn is stepping in to anchor it into reality. The cosmic energy has done its part. What unfolds now depends on your awareness, your courage, and your willingness to follow what you recognize as true within yourself. This is not the end. This is truly the beginning, not a false start or recycled patterns disguised as something new. This is the opening of something that could unfold in ways you cannot yet imagine if you allow it, trust it, and move with it rather than against it. Something has shifted, quietly, almost invisibly, but you felt it. And now that you have recognized it, now that you understand what's happening, you cannot unknow it. The only question remaining is what you will do with this knowing. The door is opened. Now it is your turn to walk through.